You know, in the history of crime, some heists are just so bold, so brilliantly planned that they become legendary. Today, we're digging into one of the biggest, the story of how 15 men managed to stop a moving train and walk away with a fortune that, in today's money, would be worth over £67 million.
So just imagine for a second. You're Jack Mills, the driver of the Royal Mail train. It's a totally routine overnight trip, Glasgow to London. But then, up ahead, in the middle of nowhere, a single red light is glowing. It shouldn't be there. And that one little strange detail? Well, that's the start of one of the most famous crimes in British history.
Okay, so let's start right there with that single red light. This wasn't just a random signal malfunction. Oh no, this was the opening act of a very, very carefully planned criminal performance.
Now you have to understand, this train was basically a rolling post office. You had 72 staff inside, just sorting mail while the train barrels through the night. A stop at this particular spot was completely out of the ordinary. For the driver, it was a huge red flag. Literally. But the real story here didn't start on the train tracks. It started months before, in the minds of some very ambitious criminals.
Yeah, this heist was no spur-of-the-moment thing. It was a masterpiece of planning, really. And it was all built on secret information that could have only come from someone on the inside.
So who was behind this whole thing? Well, the crew was led by a guy named Bruce Reynolds, the mastermind. He put together a team of over 15 specialists, including some tough guys known as the South Coast Raiders. Their target was super specific, the high-value packages coach, which is exactly what it sounds like, where all the cash was. And they had one very firm rule: no guns.
But wait a second, how do they know which coach to hit and when to hit it? Well, their entire plan was only possible because of an informant, a real ghost in the machine, someone deep inside the Royal Mail. To this day, nobody knows who it was, but the information they provided, it was pure gold.
And this insider gave them two absolute game changers. First, they learned that the normal high-value coach, the one with all the alarms, was out of service. A backup coach was being used instead, a coach with zero security systems. And second, because it was right after a long bank holiday weekend, the train wasn't carrying the usual amount of cash. No, it was carrying the jackpot.
On any other night, that coach would have had about £300,000 in it. I mean, that's still a lot of money for sure, but it was nothing, absolutely nothing compared to what was on board that night.
A jaw-dropping £3 million, 10 times the usual amount. It was the score of a lifetime, a total perfect storm of opportunity, and this gang was ready to cash in. So with the plan locked in, and the jackpot right where they wanted it, let's jump back to that quiet stretch of track on August 8th. The trap was about to be sprung.
The whole thing was just ruthlessly efficient. They faked that red signal with something as simple as a glove and a battery. The second the train stopped, they swarmed the engine, overpowered the crew, and badly beat the driver, Jack Mills. Then, they unhooked the first two coaches and forced the injured driver to move them a kilometer down the track to a place called Bridego Bridge, which is right where their getaway truck was hiding. From there, it was an all-out race against the clock.
I mean, the sheer scale of what they stole is just incredible. Get this. In about 15 minutes, a human chain of robbers moved 120 mailbags of cash. That weighed 2.5 tons. They moved it all from the train to their truck. They actually worked so fast, they even left 8 bags behind.
So, as they were getting ready to vanish into the night, one of the robbers turned to the captured staff and gave them a final warning, telling them not to move for half an hour. It probably seemed like just a throwaway threat, but that one sentence, it would end up being their biggest mistake.
So the gang makes their getaway, and at this point, they're thinking they've pulled off the perfect crime. They have the money, they have a secret hideout, but their perfect plan was already starting to fall apart.
So just 43 kilometers away from the crime scene, the whole gang is holed up in a farmhouse they rented. And they're so confident, so thrilled with themselves, that they actually start playing a game of Monopoly. But here's the crazy part. They used stacks of the actual stolen cash instead of the little colorful paper money. Can you believe the nerve? But that celebration didn't last long, because that little warning they gave, "Don't move for 30 minutes, was about to boomerang on them in a huge way. So how could those 4 simple words bring down their whole operation?
Well, it's actually pretty brilliant. When the police were told about that 30-minute warning, they did some quick math.
They figured that in a half hour, the gang's getaway car couldn't have gone much farther than about 50 kilometers. So boom, just like that, the search area went from the entire country down to a tiny, manageable circle on the map, a circle that just happened to have a certain farmhouse right in the middle of it.
The net was closing in, and fast. The gang was listening to a police scanner, and they heard that the search was focused right on their area. And that's when the celebration turned into total panic.
See, their original plan was to just lay low for a few days, but that was out the window. They had to get out now, so they split up the money and bolted, leaving one guy behind with one simple, absolutely critical job: burn the entire farmhouse to the ground, destroy everything. But he never did it. The guy they paid to burn the evidence just took his cut of the money and ran. So when a suspicious neighbor called the cops, the police walked into an absolute gold mine of evidence. They found mail bags, the truck, food, and right there on a table, a Monopoly set.
And here's the real kicker. The gang had been so careful. They wiped down every single surface in that farmhouse to get rid of fingerprints. But in all the panic and excitement, they forgot about the board game they were just playing. Police found their fingerprints all over the board, the little hotels, the game pieces, and they got immediate matches in their criminal records.
The dominoes fell pretty quickly after that. Most of the gang got caught and were hit with these massive 30-year prison sentences. But while the robbers became these infamous anti-heroes, we can't forget the real human cost here. Jack Mills, the train driver they assaulted, was traumatized for the rest of his life. He never worked again, and he died only 7 years later.
So what happened to all that money? Well, even with all the arrests and the long sentences, the police only ever got back about 10% of it. The other 90% of the cash? It just vanished, gone for good.
So in the end, the police got their men, and the world got a story that has fascinated people for decades. The Great Train Robbery became more than just a crime. It became a legend. But the biggest piece of the puzzle was never ever found. The mastermind behind the mastermind, the high-ranking source inside the Royal Mail, who basically handed them the score of a century, he was never identified. And who he was remains one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.